In today's brief video, I want to share with you guys 3 simple tips to help break the cycle of pornography addiction, something that I once struggled with. If you're new to the channel, my name's Dr. Frank. I'm the founder of AddictionMindset recovery coaching programs, which are dedicated to helping people quit nicotine, THC, energy drinks, and adult media content. Now, if you wind up enjoying today's video, be sure to check out the pinned comment or the video description. I attached other videos that I've made on the topic of adult media content addiction regarding the mindset shift necessary that you have to have when it comes to quitting. Now, for today, I'd say there's 3 primary things that I changed that helped me quit watching porn. Step number 1 was identifying other behaviors or vices that would eventually lead to the consumption of adult media content. Particularly for me, I noticed this with alcohol and weed. Anytime I would smoke weed, I would get like this kind of heightened sense of, I guess you could say, sexuality or whatever it may be. And right, like, let's be honest, when you smoke, sex is more pleasurable, it's more stimulating on weed. Although I quit years ago, that is the one thing that I'll say was a benefit that I do remember very clearly. Here's the problem. I would go to work, I'd come home, I'd smoke, I'd be laying in bed, watch the news, browse a little bit of social media, and then before I know it, I would be consuming adult media content. The same would go for alcohol, except for alcohol, it might not only occur that evening, but if I was hungover the next day or feeling crappy upon waking up or having that weed hangover, consuming adult media content first thing in the morning also became a behavioral problem because you'd wake up feeling hungover and feeling like crap. Your brain says, oh, I know something that's quick and easy that can make you feel better. Consume adult media content and then go start your day. So what I realized was in order to break the cycle of adult media content consumption, I had to quit smoking weed, and I had to originally dramatically decrease my alcohol consumption until one day I eventually just eliminated alcohol altogether. Because I noticed smoking weed, drinking alcohol always led to more porn viewing. And it makes sense because when you smoke weed or drink alcohol, that prefrontal cortex functioning, that part of your brain that's responsible for rational decision making and delayed gratification and willpower, that's hit at a lower frequency when you consume those substances. So it makes sense that watching porn was more desirable once I was under the influence of either cannabis or alcohol. So had to cut those out in order to quit porn. Step number 2, and a lot of people that we work with, they'll say this when we help them quit weed, they'll say, it's amazing how much my adult media content viewing has gone down since quitting smoking weed. And there's actually a lot of reasons for that, because if you're not smoking at night, chances are you're doing something else. Maybe it's working out, maybe it's reading, working on a side hustle. So now you're not just lounging in bed, scrolling. You get where I'm going with that. The behavioral changes that come with quitting substances put you in a position that makes quitting porn easier. Okay, next tip. I would look for other behaviors that you may have that might lead to pornography consumption. For a lot of people, myself included, this was mindlessly scrolling social media. Today's algorithms are set up, unfortunately, largely to promote a lot of degeneracy. And what you're going to see is videos that are going to trigger you. This is just the way it is. So what I started to do was I started to tailor my social media towards pretty much strictly motivation and then really, really heavy on the education side of things. I wanted to learn about my profession. I wanted to learn about my side hustles. I wanted to learn about my hobbies and my interests. Once I got all the motivational stuff and all the discipline stuff, once I took what I needed from that, I quickly transferred into educational content only. And even today, to this day, 9 years later, if I'm consuming media content, it's with intention. It's with intention. If I'm not the one producing it like this, I'm consuming with the purpose of educating myself on something. I no longer consume social media, or at least largely I don't, for entertainment purposes, because that entertainment always led to something degenerate, which would then always trigger me. And then here I am, back on adult media content, because I'm not one to have a massive amount of willpower. So for me, I find it's easier, if I don't want to eat sugar, it's a lot easier just to not have sugar in the house than it is to have the willpower to try and resist the cookies in the cupboard. Same thing goes for adult media content. So what behaviors bring you down watching adult media. And this could do other things too. Like if you're used to bringing your phone in the bathroom with you and you're spending a little extra time in there doing you know what, maybe it's time to replace that bathroom time with like a magazine or a book or just nothing. Go quick and get on with your day. Okay, tip number 3, and this is the most important one. It has to do with replacing pornography viewing with something else. The most instrumental thing for me, aside from everything else I've done in my recovery work, faith-based stuff, learning more about discipline, working with coaches, all the stuff that I've done in my recovery, all applied to porn equally, okay? But the most important thing was finding something else to do and literally becoming too busy to have that be a part of my life. So here I am, my day from work unwinds. I come home, play with the family, eat dinner, and now it's nighttime. Everyone's in bed. It's just me alone, awake. And this is usually where trouble would happen. But I've now replaced that bad behavior of watching adult media content with creating content. I replaced it with something that I'm passionate about, something else that I'm able to do in my spare time. Addiction is largely an obsession. I became obsessed with something else. Now, very important though, that something else is going to have to be a dopamine producing activity. For me, social media, the creation of social media content, which in turn is also helping people, giving me purpose, while at the same time building my brand, AddictionMindset Recovery Coaching, our Kick It, Crave Less chewing gum supplements, which can help with cravings and obsessive compulsive behaviors. And at the same time, receiving positive feedback on videos and content going out. Yes, you're getting likes. Yes, you're getting shares. You're getting a dopamine hit off of all of that stuff. Social media creation was for me the perfect exit from pornography consumption. You have to find something else to fill that time with. So when it comes down to it at the end of the night for me, I'm going to sit there and go, well, I could spend 10 minutes watching this, porn video or whatever, or I could spend 10 minutes making a community post for YouTube. And on both of them, I'm going to get a dopamine hit. But short-term pleasure versus long-term gain over here. Long-term gain by promoting my brand. Long-term gain by helping people. You get the likes, you get the shares, you help a bunch of people. It's an awesome feeling. Way, way better than this short-term feeling of pleasure that you're going to get from pornography. So I think it's important that you dive into a hobby, dive into something that interests you, dive into something that gives you purpose, but make sure it gives you a dopamine hit. And that's largely how I fixed my pornography consumption. I literally started making YouTube content, building a brand for myself. And when it comes down to it at the end of the night, I'm going to get much more joy out of editing a video, making a post, booking a one-on-one coaching call and doing that with someone than I am watching adult media content. Now, what do I do on nights I'm not working, which is rare? I like to stay busy 24/7. It's typically reading a book. And again, it's going to be a book that's educating me on something that I can apply to one of my businesses or my finances or my health. It's something that I can take from education and then I can convert that into action, which then I'm going to get the reward of dopamine from doing the action that gave me some positive outcome. That's largely how I did it. I eliminated the vices that damaged my prefrontal cortex, that kind of put me on a lower vibration that would lead to kind of, I guess I'll say, like really just straight up degenerate behavior. After getting rid of the vices, I identified behaviors that would lead me down that path, mindlessly consuming social media content, even if it wasn't sexually explicit by its nature, just mindlessly consuming would lead to adult media content for me. So I switched that, strictly education, sprinkled in with some motivation, stuff that I can apply to step number 3, which is taking action on something. For me, that was the creation of content. That was the development of businesses. And now it's the growth of businesses, which in turn is helping people who are struggling with addictions. I hope that makes sense for you guys. It's really not that hard, but I promise you, you're gonna have to fill that time with something else, something more meaningful, something more purposeful, and something that's going to give you that dopamine hit. You have to find find something else. You have to. It's the only way you're going to get this fixed in reality, in my opinion. That's the only thing that worked for me, I should say. And if it worked for me, chances are it can work for someone else too. Good luck.